slitting saw so I can start cutting up some stuff I need to make. This is going to be the brown and sharp taper. I'm pretty close to the right size. I've got 1110. I think I need 170 or something. Let's see. Yeah, I got 170 is what I need. And I got 1110, so got about 40 thousandths to go to get it to the large diameter. This is a pretty good finish. I'm using a 3/8 tool. I'm going to try to make a finishing pass across the spring cut. Not doing anything. I'm going to try another 5 thousandths, 10 thousandths total. Looks like it's going to give me the same finish as I had the last time. I'm running this about 500 RPM or so, approximately an inch. So I'm not going to undercut. I'm not going to cut this one too small. But I am going to try to get it a little smoother than what I've got here. I'm just giving you a video of the nut. If we look here, it's not too bad. It's a little rough looking. This is much better up here. This is with a much bigger radius. I'm going to try a shear tool on this and see if I can get it a little smoother than what it is. This is a shear tool that I got from Tool Cane. There was a couple other guys too, but basically you got one angle cut at like 5 degrees and the other one at about 9 degrees, and it doesn't take off much of a cut, a couple thousandths. But what it does, it actually shears it off instead of acting like a normal tool. You don't get a nice curly chip, you get a angel hair looking chip. I'm just running this down here till it touched off. Speed and speed. You can see immediately that it's got a better finish. Throwing off some real tiny, fine hair-like chips. Far better finish. Close enough. Oh yeah, finish is much better than what it was. Let me mic this here, and I've got 1/100 exactly. I need to go down about 30 thousandths. So I'm giving myself plenty of room here. I'm going to try taking this in here in. I'm going to feed in 5 thousandths on each side. Give me 10 thousandths cut with a shear tool. I don't know if it'll do it or not. Yeah. cutting off a really long stringy chip. You'll smell it too. There's something that's chips must be coming off pretty hot. But it looks like to me I got a super good finish here with 10,000 cut, 5,000 per side. Get down to the end here and pick it out and see what we got. Alright, we got quite a mess of chips here. Blue. And the finish is just great. Just great finish. Yeah. So I still got about 20 thousandths to go to get to my big end here for this taper. But I'm trying to stay about above my my tolerances. I ruined the last one. I'm trying to get a nice even surface here. This is what I'm gonna chuck up in the 3-jaw here. Trying to get my get everything all square and centered and get the arbor turned. I would assume it's going to be from this part here is where all my reference is going to be, and then when I put taper on it, we're going to have whatever I have. But for now, I'm just going to try to get this as smooth as I possibly can and experimenting with my tools. It looks like my spring pass here, it left a little groove in this. I don't know if you can see it, but when I backed it out. So I'm going to put another 2 thousandths in, as good as I can with a new blade. Yeah, it's taking a nice springy cut off again. You can definitely smell it. So whatever that chip is, it's coming off there really hot. It's turning blue right out here in the air. Purpley blue. Probably burning the oil that was on my hands off, is what I smell. Now I got this close to the end here. Well, there's a good good example of why you don't let chips build up, especially long stringy ones. They tend to want to grab and snatch, and these things are like kind of like long razor blades. So anyway, I'll clean this up here a little later. But we got a really nice surface here. I mean, that's just a really super fine surface. Could touch this with a little bit of sandpaper and it would look almost flawless. So I think it's good enough for now. I'll get one final check on it. We got 185, 186, down this end, 187, 185. I'm within 2 thousandths all the way across that taper, so I think this is good I still have to taper it down 10 thousandths, and I'll do that with when I start to turn the taper. Right now I just want something good that I can chuck up in this chuck and get it as close to exactly on center as possible. Alright, I was thinking about making a 1-inch arbor there because I got some good slitting saw. My idea is to cut this piece of metal in half. I don't have a bandsaw. Probably should go spend the money and buy one, but this is going to be experiment. That's about 1/8 of an inch saw. I've got it all clamped in tight and clamped down pretty much. I've got it flush against the table here, so I'm going to try to cut it, you know, very close to where I'm at, or close to all the way through, then flip it around and try to finish up the other part. I really don't know how well this is going to work. I already cut the other end there a little. This is twine milling. I'm going to just try, you know, I'm going to give it 7 thousandths to start with. See what happens. It's going to take a little while, but at least I'll find out whether this mill is going to be able to cut that piece into or not. Of course it will. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it'll probably be quite a while. That'll look like 7 thousandths if you've been lugging it at all. But most likely it's going to start running 20 on it. We'll just jump ahead and see what it can get. Yeah, there's 20 thousandths. This seems to be just moving along like nobody's business. Try, yeah, even hand feeding it, I could probably go 3 times as fast. Alright, I'm going to back her out. Since that wasn't really doing much of anything, I'm going to double it, dial in 40, 10, 20, let's try 30 just for kicks. Mechanical feed, a little juice in there. It's 30 thousandths. Blowing off some pretty good sized chips, not too bad. A little smoke coming off of it, so I don't think it's too hot. This is on the slowest speed setting I got. I'm going to try, I'm going to go ahead and run it through by hand. Yeah, it's taking a much faster speed. Good enough. $40,000. Kind of a nice looking chip. I think I'm probably turning a little too fast for that size cutter. blowing some good chips out of there right now at that feed rate. And it's making a nice smooth cut. Alright. It's all done pretty good. I'm going to run in 50 thousandths. 10, 20, 30, 40, there's 50 thousandths. Same slow feed rate. Let's see what happens here. Blowing off a pretty good sized chip. Smoking just a little. Not bad. Get the formula, 800 surface feet a minute. Times 3 divided by the diameter. 1500, that's about a 4-inch seam. Try that just a little slower. That's not squealing as bad. A little faster. And we're throwing a pretty good chip. Like 50 thousandths is pretty good at that feed rate. Got a nice groove in there. Just looking out of the back, pretty good. I've got a magnet down in my little oil can here. Kind of keeps it from being knocked over. And does control the chips a little bit. Alright. 50 thousandths. I'm going to try another 50, but I'm speeding up the feed rate this time. Let's see what we got. There we got 50 thousandths depth of cut. Change to my next highest feed rate. Blowing off a pretty nice looking chip. A little oil coming off of it, not too bad. Get a little more squealing than I would like. Turn this down to about 'Cause right feed. And little oil is helping things. Looks like it needs a little more than just putting it in the metal. Need to continue to oil it a little bit. It's just depth of cut. That is 50 thousandths, so that's a pretty healthy cut. Well, 50 thousandths next to the highest speed is probably acceptable time-wise. Still going to take a long time to cut that off. Now we're taking a 80 thousandths cut now. The blade is not warm at all. Blowing off some pretty nice chips. I could probably take 100 thousandths for this speed and feed. Probably save a little time, but 80 thousandths is probably pretty good. That's the biggest cut of anything I've been able to take with anything so far. Everything seems to be running really smooth. No chatter. No anything. I think 80 thousandths is probably for this size mill and everything I'm doing, a pretty reasonable cut. Making fairly short work of this 1-inch piece. If I could get it to 10,000 or 100,000, I could take 10 passes to cut a 1-inch piece, so that's not too bad. I got it flipped over and pretty close to centered. This cut we're taking here now is 80 thousandths. Done pretty good. Blowing off a pretty good chip. The cutter's still not even warm. So it's moving along pretty good. 2 more passes and I should have this part in two. Blowing real nice chips there now. Cutting very good. Well, a little slow on that, but that was our final pass. Just cut it right off. You can see I made quite a bit of mess here. Cutter's not even warm at all. Of course, I used a lot of oil on it. Kind of learned my lesson before. Now this looks like the last little strip that came out there. So anyway, and looks like I got it really close. I can't even feel it. I can see the line there, but I can't feel it. So I kind of must have lucked out pretty good on that. Anyway, next step, trying to make a lathe stop out of it. Now here's a piece I cut off. I can feel maybe 2 or 3 thousandths on this thing. Right in the middle is nothing. So I didn't really measure it or anything. I just put a square in there and kind of eyeballed the edge of the teeth with the edge of the hole and bumped it around, and this would be pretty good. I could probably run another mill over that and clean it up, but the idea here is I need to cut a 90-degree slot in this thing, so it'll go down over the way here, and I'm going to have to then figure out a way to clamp it and do some various other things, but that's the idea. These things are selling for at least $100 on eBay, and I don't have one personally, so I'm going to make one and find out all of the how-tos and how-not-tos. Now it's small enough I can probably put it in my vise and clean off these two rolled surfaces. And just clean this block up all together and then do a little measuring and design for a carriage stop. Alright, what I'm doing now, I'm just trying to square up the two rolled sides on this. I've got one pretty much done. You can see right here this drops off pretty good. Probably what it was cut. I've got it right now 15 thousandths, 15 on the dial. All this good for this pass, and I'm going to turn it around and cut the other side now. Well, flipping this one side to another is not going to work out. At least not with my setup. Took a pretty good bite out of it there. The back feels pretty good, but I got another big 4 or 5 thousandths gouge there. So problem is that this part is too long to fit into my vise, so I can sorry about the zoom there, too long to fit into the vise, so I can take a one length pass across there. So I think what I need to do in order to get it square, I'm just experimenting now. I may be doing completely the wrong things. One thing, I don't have the right blocks or anything under there. I'm using an old vise jaw and some key stock. But I think what I need to do is cut that down to where it'll hold the vise. Make one pass across the, as we're looking at it here, left to right across the whole thing. Square that up and then try to work from that. Rather than doing a bunch of cutting, I was able to take a jaw out of the vise. So I could get my part in there. I only needed about 1/4 of an inch. And I got it about centered. I think the cutter is wide enough to take this. Oh man, I'm right up against my... Gonna have to back this out. Give myself a little room. There we go. And Move my part in my vise a little more towards the head. Alright, got it centered. Got my touch. Got a couple thousandths. It's not taking really much right here, but when it gets back over here, it might either be taking a whole bunch, or I'm not sure what's going to happen. But I got it in there with a good 1, 2, 3 block, which I know is straight, and I should be milling the surface as parallel to the axis of the cutter, so should be good as far as this goes. A couple passes and I'm taking a 10,000ths cut right now. Sounds like it's got a good cutting noise to it. No discernible chatter. So it looks like I may have one good surface on this thing, and then I can flip it over and see what I got on the other side. Alright, Mr. Milling Machine is finishing up here. I've got an 1.25" 45-degree cutter, and that's going to wind up cutting us a nice 90 like this way right here, and that's what I need to do, is turn this arbor down now to 1.25", and I'll get started on that. Well, these are 20,000th diameter passes. They're doing just fine. Take another 20. Got a long ways to go to 1.25". It's coming off nice. Getting a 4 or 5 inch chip and then they break. And look like they're kind of coming off blue. Coming off yellow, turning to blue. So I'm not overfeeding it or anything. Take some time to get this turned down. I'll bring you back when I'm closer. Alright, we're 6,000ths over, 1.25". I got my fancy little shear tool in here. Just touch it off there. That should just be no more than 1 or 2 thousandths. It's not really taking anything. I'll dial in 2 thousandths. Give it a go here. Yeah, now we're cutting off low. So that's 4 thousandths. For my calculations, I should be within 1,000th of 1.25". I'll measure it once I get through shearing it, and either I'm going to file it or something. I'm not going to overshoot it this time, no matter what. I'll check it and I'll try my gear on it and see what I've got. The shear tool is doing pretty good at taking 1 or 2 thousandths off, so I think I'll be alright. So my last pass here is going to be 2 thousandths with some oil. You can see the chips that are coming off here. Looks like angel hair. finish. At least compared to that carbide insert. I'm going to let her finish, and I think I'm going to try to take the rest of this down with a file and then check it. Alright. That should do it. And survey says, oh man, 148. 1/2000ths under. Well, I'll try my gear on it. I'll just clean up a little of this. Well, I don't even have to do that. There's no rough edges at all. And it's a little hot too. I should have allowed for that. Well, messed up again. It goes on perfectly well. I hardly feel any play in it. I've got 2/1000ths there. Surface is pretty smooth. I hesitate to take it down anymore. I think this will be good enough for what we need. And try a couple more of these cutters on here. Yeah, that one's a little looser. And this one pretty tight as well. Anyway, again, I undercut what I was shooting for, but this time I didn't do it too bad, only 2/1000ths. Now we need about 1.25 inches here for our threads and our bearing support. Take a while to cut that down. And once we get it down to that part, then I'll cut the thread dimension first, thread diameter. There we go. Just gotta pay attention here. Trying to do this left-handed, hold the camera, getting the wrong feeds. Okay, we'll cut this down to 1 inch. We'll undercut it for the threads. And then I'll cut the bearing support into it. And then we'll be ready to move on to the next step in our little project. Tighten that up a bit. So my chatter must come from. Alright, these next two are perfectly successful. I got that exactly at 1 inch, even if it's a little under, won't hurt. I got this one here for the Mr. Bearing here. It may be just a little tight right there in the back, but basically oh, there we go. This piece of chip in it. This bearing fits on perfectly well, and looks like the end's pretty good here. So now all I really have to do is thread this. I'm going to thread it for 1 inch so I can use one of my other nuts. I don't have to mess with that. And put a keyway in it, and then once I've got that all done, or I think probably what I'll do before I put the keyway in it is mount it here in this one. I don't know whether no, I think I'll just thread it, mount it between centers, and cut my taper in it. Once I got my taper cut, Then I'll go back to the mill, put a keyway and a couple of flats on this for a tool. I'll be done with that, and I'll be ready to throw this cutter on there. It cut me a 245-degree angles that'll match up to my lathe bed, and I'll have myself a carriage stop. That's about all for today. Kind of tired, but at least tonight I go to bed with some success instead of a failure of messing up another part. Here we go. I cut the threads. I'm learning a lot about cutting threads and mistakes. I had some of my gears come loose. Kind of double cut them, and didn't really didn't double cut them 50-50, but I did double cut them, and I had a little trouble getting them straightened out, but I did get them straightened out. And nut goes on there just fine. Next thing I got to do is make myself a couple spacers here with an 1 1/4 bore in them, and press on from there. Well, I played around with my arbor and everything here, and it turns out that what I've got, I thought this was a 45, but it's not. It's a 60-degree angle cutter, so I'm going to give up on that for now. What I did do is mount my block in here, and I mounted the block at 45 degrees. I'm just taking a big end mill cutter here, and hopefully this will give me a 90-degree cut across this thing. I'm taking it real slow because I don't want to knock my my setup out of the vise here. Take a few more passes and then we'll see how it looks. Well, here's 15 thousandths. Seems to be cutting pretty evenly. We'll just work on 15 for a while. Well, 15 thousandths seems to be about right. I'm still holding good with my 45 here. Using plenty of oil on it. I don't know if you can see down in there, but taking a pretty nice cut right in the bottom. There we go. And it's a nice 90-degree angle. I've got it a little less than a ½ inch is where the V starts, which should fit the lathe. I'm just going to keep going until I have the width of the V here is the same width as my lathe V. 20 thousandths a pass, 15 thousandths. It's going to take quite a while, but I just keep at it. Yeah, clean the chips out of it a little bit. Let's see, we got a pretty nice V here. Calipers here. And it looks like we've got about 245 here, and this one, this. Look at the edge. Pretty close guesstimate. 255. That's probably because the way I was holding it. Let's see if I can do it a little better. Looks to me like this top one here is a little too big comparatively. $260, and this one, best I can measure, that's $260 as well. So there's a quick rough measurement. It looks like it's taken off the same amount, and I know that it's still at 45. If that's a 90 degrees from the face of the cutter, which it pretty much has to be, I'll still be in good shape. And I'll take another 15 here. 15 a pass, gets a little more aggressive each time. Because I'm making the width bigger here on the bottom. After a little while I'll probably have to start going to 10,000ths a pass. But I got a ways to go. I got it pretty close and tried it on the lathe. I was almost down to my jaw here, so I just raised it up a little, reset my 45. This is my zero pass here, basically. Taking a couple thousandths off of each surface. Not sure what that squealing is. Speed it up a little. Some kind of chatter. I don't know where it's from. Anyway, I got a few thousandths to go here, so I'll just press on. Alright, well, after a lot of work in this, got that done. It's hitting the bottom on both sides there. You can see the black in here is where the ways are hitting it, which is pretty good. It just agrees from the ways. What I do need to do is take it down a little. As you can see there, it's contacting that edge a little. I need to machine that edge down. I measured it, but I just didn't measure it right. So, of course, if I had a 90-degree cutter, this would have been a lot better. I could just one set up flat and start machining. But as it is, this mess here, and it's really messy too. All these chips are just full of oil. The ways down there are full of oil, or T-slots. So I'm probably putting way too much on it, or I don't know how to control it, or both, or something. But at any rate, I got the thing done. I haven't harmed my cutter, and this should be a fairly simple matter to just brush off and clean up a little. The next thing I cut is just going to get bad again anyway. But now we have this. Now there's a flat part on this on these ways here, The ones that I've seen have a flat groove cut in them too, not a straight V. So what I'm going to do is set up a little cutter or something in there, and I'm just going to machine a square groove off in this. I'm not exactly sure why, because obviously it's not touching nothing there. I guess that's just in case it don't booger the ways up right on that nice little corner. But all in all, this looks very good. And next thing is to make me a part that drops down below it here. It goes underneath the way, or the bed. Like 3/8 of an inch or something. Probably just a little angle piece. Maybe 3/4 of an inch long. And put me a couple bolts in it here to clamp it. And then the next part will be to figure out what am I going to do with the rest of this to set it up as the lathe stop. But it's good enough for right now, and I'm kind of tired, so I'm going to take a break. Yeah, I'm working on this carriage stop here. I've got a bottom plate that will hold it and clamp it. All I'm doing right now is just cleaning it up here in the mill. And that last pass was 20 thousandths. I just ran it up into there, and you guys will pay attention to what I'm doing here. We'll go up to our take off 30 thousandths this time. There's another 30. Use a little oil on it. Let's cut 30 thousandths off of that 3/8 inch plate very easily. I'll just mill this out till it's about the right size, and then we'll see what we need to do after that. Yeah, I'm moving along right along. I'm doing the long side here. This is without oil. That's throwing off a nice chip. I think I'm using too much oil. I got oil over everything. But this is a 50 thousandths cut. Speed 5, whatever that happens to be. But it's doing very well. No problems at all. This is just giving me my third machine surface, and then I'll measure the width and how big I need this and cut it down to that. Well, here's a handy little item. I was trying to use all kinds of weird things in my trying to get the thing spaced right, and so I bought the bullet, and I bought a set of parallel bars. Yeah, they're pretty nice to go all the way down to 1/2 inch here, and this is the third from the biggest. I think the biggest here are 1 1/8, 6 inches long. They are a little expensive, but I mean, just right now I just have recovered any kind of money that I might have put in them just from that one little milling operation right there. You prop them right up in the vise, and Tap them down solid. Yep. Nice and tight. And tighten up my vise. And that should mill me a real nice cut across there. Alright, we got a nicely milled surface there. I don't see any chatter marks in it, but the milling machine is really making a lot of high-pitched, almost a squeal as it comes across with this big thing. I had that trouble before when I was cutting a wide piece. Don't know exactly what's causing it, but I'm gonna just mill the other side and I'll be done with this piece anyway. You know, I'm using a pretty high arbor speed here, about 6.5. I don't know what that is. Looks like about 800 RPM, but I'm hardly doing any cutting here. I don't even think I'm just barely touching this right hand surface is all. This basically would be my zero pass. I'm going to try to dial in 5/1000ths to see what happens. Well, there's 5,000. Wheel. That's speed 4. Oil doesn't change it. Nothing really changes it. High pitch wheel. Don't know what it is. I need to make one pass though, so that's good enough. Well, that's that. It's a nice surface. I don't really see any chatter marks of any kind that would there's a little tiny, I don't know if this will even focus, but super fine, I guess you'd call them chatter marks. It might be so fine that's why it's so high pitched, but anyway, this piece is done. I'll just clean it up in the center now and we'll check it for how it fits on the lathe. Well, there we go. Nicely machined piece. I just put it on the little grinder and cleaned up all the edges so I don't have no sharp spots. I really haven't measured it. I'm assuming that it's pretty close to being parallel. So here we got 53, 53. On the big side, I've got 60 on this end. Flip that around. This is, I saw 75 there, yeah. 74. 72. Looks like I may be 5/1000ths off on the height of it here, but the thickness is the same. Plenty good for what I want to use it for. It's just the the anchor backing for this lathe stop. That's all it is that right there. I'm going to clamp it up, take some measurements, see what I got. Now the next thing I'm making is a couple standoffs here. I'm going to turn these at 430 thousandths. Just made out of a little piece of hex stock here. There's actually a threaded nut that I bored it out. So 430 thousandths gives me about 5 thousandths of clamping force. That should be plenty enough to do what I need to do. So I'm going to use both hands here to cut this off. Now I can't tell you how handy these parallel bars are. First day I've been using them, and I must have used all 8 sets. So all I did, I cut these off in the lathe, just scaled them. So what I'm going to do now is just I put them here in a milling machine, and I'll make them both exactly the same height. They don't have to be any specific length, as long as they're a little shorter than the gap I got. So I'll make a pass across here. That should even them both up. Now this is a 10 thousandths pass. I guess I should have stained them a little or something to make sure that I had them both marked. I didn't see, I saw a little gap in there, and it looks like this one is not quite touching yet. I'll take another 5. Alright, there's another 5 thousandths. Can't really tell on there, but with the camera, you can see with my eye. See what it looks like when it comes all the way out. Yeah, we're still just cutting on one of them. Try another 5. Looking down here. I think we're hitting them both now. I should have cut them bigger than what I needed. And then machine them down to where I wanted. Yeah, it looks like we're touching on both of them right now. So that looks pretty good. Yeah, starting the machine on this one here. That's as close as I need to get it. That should be plenty for a standoff. Alright, just stuck the little risers in it here, and they're actually a little small. I can't wiggle this when it's not tight. But I just put a C-clamp on it there. It's not tremendously tight or anything, but it is moving just a little bit, but I'm hitting it pretty good with that carriage stop. I tighten it a little more. No, it's not. Yeah, it's moving a little bit, but this is just oh, this one's not even. It's like I'm only holding on one. Let me rearrange that clamp there a little better. Alright, now we're holding tight on both sides. It is moving just a little bit I'm whacking that pretty hard with a carriage stop. If I was milling or machining something, I wouldn't be hitting it that hard. I'd just be going until it stopped it. And it's also because of that C-clamp. Once I get 2 bolts down through here and tighten it up, that shouldn't move at all. I've got this a little longer than it needs to be. Probably could be half that length, but I wanted room in here to put the 2 clamp bolts about here and here, and this give me about an inch and a quarter that I can drill a stop here. See if I can find a little bolt, for example. Yeah, here's a little something. But I want it to be able to hit this part of the carriage, and of course that's a lot smaller than what I want to make this, and I'll put a little knurled end on it and a lock nut, and at least I'll have a good carriage stop here. I've learned a lot from this one. I'll probably just keep it, use it for my own personal use, and the next one I make, I'll make it for sale. For one thing, I'm going to move this out towards me quite a bit more. It doesn't have to be that far in there. I've got 3/8 of an inch there that's past the V on the way. I don't need that much. And but everything basically is done here. I just need to drill me some holes in it and tap and thread that bottom plate, put some bolts in it, and I should have a serviceable carriage stop. So that would be the first for sale project that come out of having the mill. Alright, here's a little finished deal here. I drilled this and tapped it, and I used Allen's on it, but it'll tighten up. Makes a good lathe stop. I still need to put a bolt in it here, but that'll be a subject of another video. As far as I'm concerned, I don't really need a bolt, except it's hitting this screw right here. So I'll still take it apart and put a bolt in and an adjusting screw in it. But anyway, it fits the lathe real well, slides back here completely out of the way. Another thing I'll probably put on it is some kind of an adapter here to stick a dial indicator on it. But anyway, that's kind of end of this project. I'll make one more start to finish of how I'm going to do the next one. That'll be a whole separate video. This one was a lot of learning, but learning's over, and I have a workable carriage stop here. What caused this whole thing, I found another old one on eBay. They want $100 for it, for like 2 inches long. And I thought, man, that's a lot of money just for a piece of metal, but I'll offer the guy $60 for it. So I offered him $60, and he sent me back a counter offer of $80. So $80, no thanks. I'll just spend a little time and make one of my own, and then once I make these, if other people are paying $100 for them, they should sell pretty good on eBay for 60 or something like that. So that's it. I'll get this thing edited and uploaded. See you guys later.